Hello, sports fans, and welcome to Gotnex Gaming and some more Madden 17 coverage here with our rebuild of the 49ers, the San Francisco 49ers. We are far into the offseason here as we're getting to ready to finish it up and move along into the regular season, but we do have some work to do after we finish the draft. We're going to move some players around to kind of balance out our roster a little bit here. So Julius Heron here is a cornerback currently. He's 26 years old. He's a 74 overall, but he is actually much better as a strong safety. Now, we have plenty of depth at strong safety here right now with three of them, Tart, Reese, and then Karimi, the rookie that we just drafted, who is also got a superstar level of development. So we might see him kind of develop quickly as well. But we need to think about now because we were doing a competitive rebuild with the Giants, and we kind of want to continue the whole idea of maybe a possible competitive rebuild or just maybe a rebuild. But we want to be able to compete a little bit here and make it somewhat interesting. We don't want to be terrible. As we take a look at the roster here defensively, we're going to, again, like I said, make some moves here to see how this can balance out for us a little bit better, just to make the team on the defensive side of the ball a little bit stronger. So we're going to put him in at strong safety, and we're going to keep him as a zone-type player and save the changes there. And we go back, we could see that as a strong safety, he is an 80 overall. So that is a huge jump for him and a nice bump for us in the strong safety position. But now we have too many strong safeties. We have plenty of cornerbacks. So I think we're going to take Parker Karimi, the rookie we just drafted, and we're going to move him over to free safety. His numbers stay the same as a free safety. He's still a 69 overall. But with that superstar development, he should develop quickly and move up the ladder pretty fast for us. So now we take a look at our roster as it stands right now. Looking solid. I mean, still a lot of work to do here, and there's definitely some moves we need to make. We have a wide receiver. We have two wide receivers, albeit one is a little bit on the older side, but we do have that young guy in Jean Glaze, and he can make some differences for us there. We have Matt Ryan, and it looks like we have a quarterback in the making there in Sugarts. He's an 80 overall, so maybe he could take over the reins next year for us, because Matt Ryan's like 36 or 37 years old in this version of it by 2021. So we're definitely going to maybe think about the future with Sugarts as well. Taking a look at the defense, we can see that we're looking pretty decent here as well. We might want to make some moves or changes here, maybe a little bit further, or maybe get some more depth as far as cornerbacks go, because after the move we just made, now we kind of lost out on cornerback depth, and we want to make a little bit more sense with it here if we can. So let's go ahead and do that. Actually, let's take a jump in here and see what we can come up with. We'll take a look around and see if we can find ourselves a cornerback to plug in just for depth purposes. Now, picking up a Josh Norman at 85 overall would be fantastic, but his speed is terrible. He's an 81 speed at this point in his career, 33 years old, so not something we want to do. Looking around, the 74 overalls are pretty intriguing, but I want to maybe go with the 76 overalls here and try to pick somebody who's going to be good balance-wise in that regard. There's a few guys here that we can look at, like Taliaferro, and E.J. Gaines. E.J. Gaines is 29, and Kevin Johnson's 29. So I'm not sure if I really want to go with those guys. And in a balanced type of situation, E.J. Gaines looks like the best one available with the 81 and 83 for man and zone coverage, but with an 85 speed, I don't really want to put that in the cornerback or in the slot position. So I think I'm going to go with Taliaferro here, who has the 88 speed, and he looks like he's going to be a good fit for us. So we're going to go ahead and sign him to add some depth to our cornerback core there. So what we're doing now is we're taking a look at a quick preseason game here. I actually played the first half of this myself. I didn't show any of that footage. Didn't want to make it too long, the video. So I kind of just showed the sim portion of it as I was looking to see what this team would look like on paper and on the field somewhat, to see how it would kind of stack out as far as it's set up right now, to see if we need to make any changes or anything like that. And they do wind up winning it behind Sugarts, 19-16 here. And like I said, preseason game, so it's a lot of the second and third stringers here. But Sugarts didn't have a bad game. 40 attempts, 24 completions, 271 yards. Did have 2 picks, but that's to be expected. Looking at the other numbers here for receiving and rushing and stuff like that, nothing really jumps out at us. At least Curse is still producing as an older receiver, but you kind of expect that of a guy who is somewhat of a former star, not a superstar, but somewhat of a former star in his own regard. And then taking a look at some of the defensive stuff here. Again, the numbers are what they are. But let's go ahead and now move forward to week 1 of the regular season here in 2021. So we're going to have to go in and make the big decision, obviously, where we set our season goal. Here it is. And I don't know if I really trust this team after a 6-9 showing last year, 6-9-1, to get a winning record. So we're going to say 7 wins to keep it on the safe side. Again, because like I said, the team still needs a lot of work as far as I'm concerned, and we're not quite there yet. There are some missing pieces that need to be addressed. So here's how we usually do this. The way I usually play this is I will go to mid-season, and then at that point I reevaluate the team and I make changes if I need to based upon injuries, play, what's available free agency-wide, things like that, just to kind of keep the team moving ahead if they are playing well. I want to address injuries if they are out there to kind of make the right adjustments for the team. So we're going to go ahead and sim through here too. I believe it's like week 8 or week 9 that they bring you to, and see where the team stands at that point. So yeah, week 9, and we are 6-1. We come out of the gates pretty hot here, and our next game is going to be against a 4-3 Lions team. We do have a cornerback returning from injury. That's Talafaro, and we can see that he's going to be in there, and it looks like he's our top cornerback as it stands right now. As we go down the list to take a look, and it looks like Vernon Davis is hurt, or Vontae Davis is hurt, I'm sorry. Vernon Davis is the tight end. And we can take a look at our injury report. Rashawn Gooden and D'Anthony Thomas are hurt, and Vontae Davis. And we kind of expected that with Vontae Davis. He is an older cornerback, and I wasn't expecting him to be healthy the entire season. Some of these older guys are going to be rough as far as that goes, but D'Anthony Thomas and Rashawn Gooden are not that old, and for them to be injured, it looks like D'Anthony Thomas is gone for the rest of the season. He's got 16 more weeks to go, and we're already halfway through the year. I think we may have to put him on the injured reserve list and kind of go find somebody else to plug in to give us some depth on this roster to try to continue our 6-1 run here. We may have a chance of actually making the playoffs with this team at 6-1. It's looking pretty decent. So there he is. He has a broken ankle. He's out 16 weeks. Yep, we're going to just put him on the IR and go see if we can't make a move to bring somebody else in for him. And that's a shame because he actually had a pretty decent season last year as far as stats go. And he's going to be sorely missed. And it'll be hard to replace a wide receiver at this point of the season with somebody, but we're going to do the best we can. It looks like some guys have kind of moved up the list there. Curse is looking pretty good. Machado is a 71. So not a huge total like disastrous loss, but something we can definitely need to address. And taking a look at the defense, we could see that we need to work on middle linebacker. We can't have Forbes at a 66 overall sitting in there. That is not going to work for us. I don't know if we can do anything free agency wise to change that. I think we may just remove Murphy up into that spot to kind of bolster it for the time being. Murphy is one of our outside linebackers, but he's obviously a much higher rating than Forbes at a 72, and we'll just back him down the list at the outside linebacker positions where he's a 76. And nobody else kind of fits in there well enough to step up. It's going to have to be Murphy, and hopefully he can do it. Taking a look at the free agent list here, we're looking around to see what we can find. Not much to choose from, in all honesty. And if I want to kind of keep up with defense and the linebackers, especially the fact that Rashawn Gooden, who's our best linebacker, is out, I mean, we want to just add depth for as far as linebackers go. And I'm taking a good long look at DJ Hargrove's numbers here. He is on the younger side. He's got 4 years of experience I can see here so far. And he's got pretty decent numbers, and his injury numbers are pretty good too. So we don't have to worry about him getting hurt so much. And if I'm not mistaken, I think he has pretty decent power move numbers and like pursuit numbers and like tackle numbers as well. So I think he may work out for us here. 79 tackle, we can see that. Hit power and finesse power looking pretty good there. So we will have to think about adding him to our roster. And we are going to take a look at some stats too before we do that and see how things look here for us. We can see Matt Ryan, 18 touchdown passes so far with almost 2,000 yards. RJ Horton here, 530 rushing yards with 5 touchdowns. And we could see Josh Jean-Gilles is 3 touchdowns with 608 yards and 44 catches, on pace to have a pretty decent, pretty solid season for us. Taking a look at the other numbers there in team stats, we can see defense and offense are looking pretty good at this point as well. We're first in points scored, so we're definitely making an impact there. Taking a look at the standings, we can see where we stand so far. We are tied for first with a 6-1 with the Cardinals, and we got the Seahawks right on our heels at 5-3. And it's definitely going to be a challenge for us there, as we have to play the Seahawks and the Rams in our own division, and a Lions team that has a winning record. So we take a look here. We do have some off-season work to do as far as signing people. I don't want to make the mistake I made with this guy last year, and I had a franchise tag him, and we're going to go make him an offer, and he likes that. So taking a look at the scouting reports as well, much important stuff here. We definitely need to start improving, maybe through the draft a little bit here, to get some of these positions back up to a good regard. Linebackers, especially outside linebackers, and cornerbacks, defensive backs need to be addressed with that all along. And maybe even a middle linebacker here and there too, because what is Rayshon Gooden if he keeps getting hurt for us every single year, even though his numbers don't show that he should be getting hurt? And then obviously offensive line needs work as well, and we're definitely going to invest some scouting points into the offensive line to help build that, because I believe that teams start with a strong offensive line. So after all that work is done, we're now going to go ahead and sim through the rest of the regular season and see how the 49ers fare after their 6-1 start here. So let's go ahead and jump into this. And after the moves we made, I feel kind of comfortable. We will get Rayshon Gooden back at some point, and Vontae Davis. So we'll be getting some of those key veteran players back to add to this team, and hopefully they can help us push into the playoffs. And they do not. Unfortunately, we can see here that we are kind of out of it at this point. It looks like DeCastro was hurt, and he just came back right here at the end of the season. He was probably our best offensive lineman. We can see that D'Anthony Thomas is still hurt. We're taking a look here right now. So the offensive line was kind of a mess without DeCastro in there. And the moves that were made in the sim probably weren't the greatest moves. And that's kind of where you have to focus on this stuff and pay attention. I've often thought about maybe when I get the team to a good point, maybe I play it week to week just to see how it goes when I have a team that I feel like can compete and actually make it to the playoffs. It was a little bit of a surprise being at 6-1, to be honest with you. We haven't taken a look at the record yet, and that's for a reason. I kind of want to take a look at the team first and take a look around us to see what it looks like at this point. And these guys have a lot of experience points that we're going to have to dump in here to figure out for next season going forward. And we can see the team looks pretty much intact as far as that goes. We're going to go ahead now and upgrade a majority of these players. A lot of these guys have a lot of points, like Machado and Karimi, 12,000, 10,000. Gillies has 9,000 points, so that should give them a good boost, and it does. We're going to go ahead and reorder the team here with an auto resort and see how they put them together right now, see if we like what we see. And you can see that Matt Ryan has dropped down, and Sugars is now an 82. I don't know why we put Matt Ryan back in there for the moment, but we don't really need him there. We can see Gillies' numbers went up to an 87. Machado's now a 73. And going to take a look at the defense here, we see Karimi's up to a 75, that rookie. And a lot of those other guys have kind of stayed the same here. Not really much of a bump except for Armstead. Everybody else is kind of in the same areas they were. So let's go do some cleaning up here. And here's a little bit of a surprise. Ben McAdoo, the Giants coach, has now got a 3-year extension after, I guess, what he did here. They've extended him for 3 years and $3.34 million. And yeah, we'll take that. That's a little bit of a surprise. Did not expect that, as we're going into our third season, and they extend our contract for us before we're even up on the contract. And that's kind of nice. I guess they like what they saw and what we're doing here. And I think we're doing a pretty decent job. We do wind up at 8-8, so we kind of went 2-7 the rest of the way through the stretch, and that's not fantastic. I don't know exactly what happened there. Trying to take a look at the numbers, it didn't really make sense to me to see what happened. Maybe there was injuries that we couldn't see or didn't notice, but we did have a 4-game losing streak to end the season, and probably a lot of it had to do with the offensive line. The offensive line looked like a mess at the end of it there before the Castro was plugged in there, and it looks like we had no depth whatsoever, and that's something we're definitely going to have to address in the offseason going forward. And like I said, I believe that teams' success is built on, or at least the team's offensive success is built on the offensive line first. Taking a look at stats here, we can see Matty Ice with 4,200 yards and 35 touchdowns. Pretty good. 1,100 yards for R.J. Horton with 11 rushing touchdowns. That is pretty solid. And then Jean Gillies here with 1,300 receiving yards, 99 receptions, first in the NFL with 9 touchdowns. Offense looked pretty decent there, but didn't finish in the top where they were, and defense was 28th overall in yards, and 12th in we were 12th in points scored, so we dropped out of first there to 12th, and then we were 29th in points allowed. So the defense kind of fell apart towards the end. So that might have something to do with it. The defense was definitely looking much better at the halfway mark than they did later on. So let's go take a look at the stats here as we break them down. 35 touchdowns, 25 interceptions is kind of high, but with 4,200 yards and over 500, almost 600 attempts, to be expected. And it's not terrible numbers. And it may have factored in somewhat, but maybe not. I'm not thinking a lot. But R.J. Horton looks like a gem or a diamond in the rough here. 1,100 yards on 289 carries with 11 touchdowns. Those are impressive numbers. Not much needs to be said here with Jean Gillies and Emmanuel Sanders, who has 12 years of experience now, probably going to retire soon. 79 catches for 800 yards. And then the rest of the team looking pretty solid in their contributions to the offense and the receptions. Our best linebacker or our best defensive player was Stephon Anthony, at least in the linebacking core. Well, he probably wasn't our best defensive player, but he had over 100 tackles with Mincy, the cornerback, right behind him at 88. That's pretty interesting to see. And then we can see Armstead there has 12 and a half sacks. We're going to take a look at those sack numbers. We're going to break those down and sort it out for us. But looking there, too, we see Taliaferro has 68 tackles, so he kind of factored in as well pretty decently there. And we see Lynch with 13 sacks. So those two ends had a pretty decent year. And then Vontae Davis led the team with interceptions. We'll see that later on when I break that down. And then my rookie here, Quandre Fountain, the left outside linebacker, had 47 tackles, and he factored in there with like 4 tackles for a loss and whatnot. So looking pretty decent all in all as far as things go here. Rayshon Gooden should have been at the top, but he was injured for quite some time. We can see the breakdown here. 4 sacks for the rookie, not bad. And then behind Aaron Lynch and Armstead's looking pretty solid. And then there's Vontae Davis with 3 interceptions. And a good smattering of interceptions throughout the rest of the team, as it looks like everybody kind of contributed in there. And even the rookie, Karimi, had one as well. So stats-wise, looks good. We do have some pieces that we can work with, and definitely some pieces that we need to build around and improve upon with some depth here going forward. Now we're going to go and sim through the rest of this here to the Super Bowl. We're going to advance it week by week at first and then get into it to see what the offseason is going to bring us. Let's take a look at some awards here. So we have Fountain, who is in the factoring 4th overall for defensive rookie of the year in the NFC. That's a pretty tall order there and pretty good. Best wide receiver goes to Jean Gillies. He gets the best wide receiver award for the year, and we're happy with that. We'll take that all day, every day. That's pretty good stuff there, as we know we have a pretty solid guy in him, and that's why we paid him the money we did, and he's proving up to be exactly what we paid for. Taking a look at defensive stuff here, best defensive line, Armstead and Lynch are up there, but behind Hargrave and Aaron Donald, of course. So, again, some pieces here to work with for sure. But again, now it's time to look at the scouting points and the draft here to see who we're going to take a look at. We know we need some work at the cornerback position. We know we need some work at the outside linebacker positions or linebackers just overall in that regard. And then obviously first and foremost is, to me, the offensive line needs a lot of work. We definitely need some depth. If we're going to have injuries, we got to be able to back it up with some solid play behind it on the bench. So that is something we're definitely going to have to address. And I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. Offenses are built on offensive line first. That's what it comes down to. So we're going to finish off here taking a look at some of the scouting points that I spread around here in middle linebacker spots as well. Again, linebacking core needs help all around as far as I'm concerned as well. Defensive line is pretty solid. Needs some work on the secondary and in the linebacking core. I like taking a look at the news portion of this stuff at the end of every season. Kind of adds a little interest to it. We can see Roger Sherman is retiring, and looks like the Cardinals win the Super Bowl over the Chargers there, 49-7. Kind of a beating there. And Ben Roethlisberger is going to retire as well. Looks like he's hanging it up as we take a look at the news here for the league over the last season. So now we have some decisions to make here. We have to sign a few players. We want Blake Berlin back. We did try to negotiate him a contract. He did not like what we offered him at first. We're not going to mess this up again. We don't want to franchise tag a tight end. It'll be just too expensive, especially since his cap is only like $5 or $6 million anyway. and we want to keep a guy who's an 84 overall, and he's pretty young. Matt Ryan, we're going to make him an offer. We do want to keep him as a backup, but not at the price that he wants. We're going to not want to pay our backup $7 million a year for sure. We're going to try to lowball him as much as we can. And even though I'm not happy with the offer that I'm giving him, it's $6.5 million. We're going to do it anyway because of what he kind of brings to the table, even at 37 years old. But he doesn't like the offer. He's going to go to free agency, and I'm just fine with that anyway. So we're going to have to negotiate with Talafero. Liked what we saw out of him this year, and we definitely want to try to keep him. So again, not messing around here. We will kind of make a nice offer to him, and he takes it, and he's going to stay with us, and he resigns. DJ Hargrove filled in nicely for us and had some pretty decent numbers, being that he came in like halfway through the season to kind of fill in as a depth player for us. We will make him an offer, and let's see if he decides to take it. We do kind of up it up a little bit for him, and he likes it, and he's coming back as well. So let's take a look at the free agents that are going to be available this offseason for us and see where we can make a splash, if we can make a splash at all. Zach Martin's available. I kind of have a right guard. He's 32 years old. Zach Martin's 31. Sammy Watkins is tempting to kind of, complement the wide receiver that we have already, but not necessary. Left outside linebacker would be tempting as well, but there's a lot of people making bids for him. I don't know if we can kind of make a bid that's going to sway him to our way unless we really go all in, and I don't want to do that so much. Even with $45 million in cap space, we're going to have to make some smart moves here. So Chris Harris Jr. here, 33 years old, is intriguing at 83 overall. Still has some pretty decent numbers, man, as far as it goes. But we see Christopher Griffin here, wide receiver, is an 83, and he's 26 with great speed numbers and catching numbers and everything else, and he would be a huge compliment over what we have. I believe Emmanuel Sanders retired anyway, so we're going to have to kind of fill in a place for him, and we're going to make a big offer here for him to see if we can kind of grab him, because this would be a huge breakout for us if we can get this guy here at an 83 and being as young as he is. So we're going to make a big offer for him and go above and beyond for this one. We're going to pay a lot to the wide receiving position, but it doesn't look like it's going to make much because the Redskins are at 27 points. So we need a backup plan. Rashad Finney looks pretty decent as far as numbers go as well. Looks like a good backup plan at an 81 overall here as we take a look at some of his extra numbers. Good route running, good catching, good acceleration, and spectacular catches in an 86. So he could probably be a playmaker for us at 27 years old. And we're going to go ahead and make him a decent offer. He's got quick development as well. So definitely worth it here. Nobody else makes him an offer. Oh, I'm sorry. The Panthers make him an offer, but he does not like the Panthers offer whatsoever. We're going to come back here to Chris Harris Jr. and take another look at it. We're definitely going to make him an offer. It's going to be a lot of money for a 33-year-old cornerback, but with his numbers looking still pretty solid, 95 play recognition, superstar development, we're going to drop it down a little bit because nobody's made him an offer. 33-year-old cornerback with diminishing speed at 83 and acceleration at 81. I think he can kind of be a good piece, though, with an 85 overall total. So we're going to make him the offer. He's not thrilled with it, but he will go ahead and accept it, as you see there. And so does Finney. He accepts the offer too. And Griffin does decline the offers, which is what we expected. So we don't get the big guy that we really wanted, but we do get the backup plan. And we get a pretty solid but older cornerback. And hopefully he doesn't get hurt playing for us like Vontae Davis did. But we'll take our chances with that if we have to. So we'll take a look at our signings for free agency. That's about all we're going to do here. We'll leave about $32 million in cap space. Hopefully we can make a big splash in the draft, which will be coming up next in the next episode of our 49ers rebuild here. I want to thank you guys for coming by and checking it out with me. Please leave your comments below. Let me know what you think we should do going forward. If you have any ideas, I'm more than happy to listen to them. I will see you around the channel, and goodbye now.